back for another night of it. Starting off extra late in the day. Extra late in the day. But I couldn't help it today. Try as I might, try as I may. Life just didn't have me getting out of here early today. That kind of rhymed. But, yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Howdy, Margot. Always glad to see you in here. Margot the Marnome. I took a Tums earlier, but now I'm thinking I should have taken 2. Oh. Something happening here, and what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I've got to beware. It's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Hi, Misty MD. I like your sweater, it looks comfortable. It is. It's even more comfy than it looks. I'm good. I've been watching the news with bated breath today, waiting all day to talk to you guys about it because there's been a lot of stuff going on today, and it's really got my conspiracy brain churning along. There is a lot of human tragedy that is going to be allowed to happen in furtherance of this Iran war and in furtherance of war in the Middle East in general. I mean, it's been happening for so long that I think most of us are numb to it at this point. To some degree, it's been normalized, but it just goes back to what I'm constantly talking about here about like life being cheap. If I'm right, it really just goes to that point. There's bad lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, getting so much resistance from behind. Go meet a nice girl? I already am a nice girl. Why do I need to meet more? I've got me. There we go. So much resistance from behind. So much resistance from behind. What's that about anyway? What's that about? I spent the last 20 years of my life hearing about how America never wanted to be embroiled in another one of these Middle Eastern forever wars that just never ends and never goes anywhere. And here I am, going to be 28 years old this year, about to ride into another 20 years of Middle Eastern warfare. I love it when somebody says like 50 viewers and some odd likes, but by the time they've typed that out and hit enter, the viewership has jumped up to like 90. That's the best. Will they draft you? Most probably not. No, I don't think they will. Something tells me nah. Even if they did start a draft, they're not going to start off with people that are about to be 28. They're going to start off with people between 18 and 26. Then they'll move up to people between like 26 and 32. And then they'll move up to people between 32 to 45. Jesus loves you very much. What, he couldn't tell me himself? Is Jesus shy? You should tell him to lighten up. And tell Jesus to believe in himself. He can approach any woman he wants to. He's the son of God. He really shouldn't be doubting himself so much. Smoking can kill you. Yeah, so can living a perfectly healthy a perfectly healthy and reasonable life and then walking out in front of traffic one day. You know? Lots of things can kill you in this world, friend. The whole world loves Donald Trump. Now that is a unique type of delusion. Thinking that most Americans love Trump, okay, I can understand how like a Trump supporter that lives in like a small town somewhere in America doesn't really interact with many people outside themselves and outside their family, doesn't really ever leave their town. They're so used to seeing Trump signs everywhere. Maybe they really do think that all of America likes Trump. But to think the entire world does? I mean, have you heard about world leaders and how they talk about this dude? Pretty much all of them, to a person, recognize that he's an unstable, loose cannon willing to throw the entire world into World War III to satisfy Benjamin Netanyahu's personal requests of him because he's so subject to flattery and bribery. A lot of people say it's the Epstein files. A lot of people say it's like, oh, the Israelis have a bunch of compromise on Trump. But my thing is like what sense does that make? What could Bibi Netanyahu publish about Donald Trump that wouldn't tell? Like number one, like what information could he release that's going to tell the American public anything new? And number two, the people that would be convinced, the people that are going to care about that are the people who aren't Trump cultists. There's nothing you can tell the Trump cultists, and the Trump cultists are the only people Trump actually cares about as far as like how he's perceived. As far as how he's perceived, Trump cares about the Republican base, and that is it. Even though that's less than a third of Americans, that is what Trump cares about. And there is nothing you could tell those people that would convince them to stop supporting Trump. Literally. You could have a verified live video of Donald Trump choking a toddler to death, and every single Trump supporter that was a Trump supporter yesterday would remain a Trump supporter after seeing that video. It's just the way it is. I'm why he won. Interesting, because that's not what that's not what the oh, what is it called, the post-election polling or whatever. That's not what people cited when they were asked why they voted for Trump. The overwhelming reason why there were two overwhelming reasons that won Trump the election. Number one was immigration, because Americans have been successfully propagandized into believing that immigration is the like biggest problem in America, and that if we just kicked all the Mexicans out, everything would get better. Okay, and the other thing was economics. There were thousands of people across America who voted for Donald Trump because they believed he would be a better economic shepherd than Joe Biden was. Thanks for the clap and seal. What a beautiful thing. If you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, by the way, consider sending a super chat. Hmm. Why do you dress up like a girl? Because I am a girl. And it makes sense, and it's comfy and nice. It makes me feel good. The elites want you fighting with each other foolishly. I try to make this point all the time, but whenever I make this point, I'm told that I'm just a representative of the elites, despite the fact that the American elites are currently trying to like like remove trans people from existence, basically. Very interesting dichotomy there, but I will be, um, you know, it's constant. Are you vegan? No. I've got no problem with those who are, but I am not vegan. Personally, I believe that even if we had never domesticated the aurochs and made from it the cow, there would still be aurochs dying to predation. They just wouldn't be dying to human predation, and I don't see why there's some greater moral weight placed on human predation for food and like any other creature. You know? There's definitely something morally wrong with factory farming. I see myself as an equal amongst the animals, which is one of the reasons why I don't see it as wrong for me to eat meat, but it's also one of the reasons why I see it as wrong for us to mass manufacture meat at the scale we do with factory farming. I don't see myself as being all that superior to the various animals that inhabit this planet along with us. And if you do, I would ask you why. What has all the intelligence of human beings garnered us but misery, distrust, vitriol, anger, hate? Thoughts on war with Iran? Another forever war brought to you by the United States' incestuous relationship with Israel that we will not give up for any money, because every single capital interest in the American economy and the global economy at this point has some interest or another in Middle Eastern oil or mineral rights, which is why it's nice to have a religiously justified holy war going on at all times that you can use to drum up support from the American country rural redneck fucking Republican voter base to justify further military expenditure and further fucking American lives lost in an unwinnable conflict in the Middle East. Once again, America going to war for Israel, and more broadly, for capital interests. What does the pentagram represent behind you? My hatred for small-minded people whose brains are easily misled by symbols. You're awesome, friend. Love seeing the progress of your fight. Love the content. Don't let the haters take you down. Never, 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 never. They get me banned off of YouTube, I'll move to Kick. Dude, feeling the sweet taste of self-employment will make you never want to work for a motherfucker as long as you live. I will make content until the day I die. Unless at some point I get so rich that I can just afford to retire and live like a lifestyle blogger without, like, doing the content of a lifestyle blogger. But I feel like even then, I would probably get bored after a year or two, you know? And I'd be like standing on the Grand Canyon one day on the rim, and I'd be like, I should do a live stream. And then I'd be right back in it. I'm here to listen and crochet. I like to think that that is the best use of a Phoebe stream, to just like kind of put it up and, throw your phone off to the side somewhere. Let me ramble and argue with crazy Nazis in my chat, and you do something that's productive and interesting in your life, and it works out. It's a good white noise, for sure. This guy's ego is so fucking high. I'm not a guy, but you are correct in identifying that I have a very large ego. The difference, of course, between us is that you probably have a large ego too. Mine, though, is impenetrable and vast. Yours is probably weak and structurally deficient. What is transfemme? It's another way of saying like a trans woman. Transfemme is like a kind of a softer way of saying transfeminine, or maybe at least like a shorter way of saying transfeminine. And transfeminine just refers to someone who is transgender in a feminine direction. So usually someone who was born assigned male at birth, who now identifies as a woman, or, like woman adjacent, I guess. Gender is a spectrum after all. Do you think they should bring back? No. Why would you ever want them to bring back shitty weed? Why? What would be the point in that? What, so 15-year-olds can get cheap ounces again? No, I like the fact that they have to overpay for their smoke. It encourages them to do their homework. New weed gets you too high? Sounds like a skill issue to me, friend. Why are you smoking so much of this good-ass new weed that you're getting like toasty stoned you can't even do shit? Personal problem. Skill issue. Republicans or Democrats? Neither. If you can't look around at the two parties currently warring for domination of our political system and see that they are both of them bourgeoisie institutions that have every intention to crush the working class beneath the boot of the manager and the boss and the cop and the CEO, then I'm sorry, you're just not paying enough attention. Chuck Schumer wants you to die for fucking Israel as much as Donald Trump does. Let me repeat that for people in the back. Chuck Schumer, leader of the Democratic Party, wants you to die in Iran for Israel just as much as Donald Trump does. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. It really does help. You know, it's worth noting that of the hundreds of thousands of people who watch me every month, and it is around like 218,000 to 250,000, sometimes a little higher on certain months, only like 0.5% of you are actually subscribed. What's with that? Why do you hate me? Even if you do hate me, why aren't you subscribed? If you hate me so much that you're watching, you should want to see every update, right? So hit that subscribe button. God damn it. I'm like a car wreck? Okay. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do with that, but alright. We're watching to talk shit, and I'm talking shit back, which makes it a pretty equitable interaction that is worth like, in my mind, that's worth supporting. Please go to church this Sunday? No. Fuck you. Charlie Kirk's wife seems like a plant now looking back. Really? Couldn't that one coming off from 10 miles away? Every single person involved in the right-wing media sphere is a fucking grifter. If you don't see that, you really ain't paying attention. Look at how family values Steven Crowder treated his wife during their divorce, or in the lead up to their divorce, when she was pregnant with his two kids. Look at how family values man Steven Crowder treated his wife back when those tapes got released. That's all you need to know. I bet you support what happened in Michigan today. Let's talk about what happened in Michigan today. Because I got fucking... there's things are happening now in America that raise a lot of eyebrows. So, 2 synagogues were attacked today. Not just the one in Michigan. In Michigan, a man I... Oh man, I know I'm going to get the fucking facts of these cases mixed up because I was just reading about them. So maybe I just won't. But anyway, so the one in the Detroit area happened. Somebody drove a pickup truck into a synagogue called Temple Israel, opened fire with the security guards. The person who was driving the truck, person who was armed and engaged in a firefight, they died. Nobody else died. Nobody else was hurt. But interestingly enough, it was a Lebanese national, I think, and a Sunni Muslim. Okay, let's just put that there, right? Let's note that. And then we have another synagogue attack in Norfolk, Virginia. And the person who committed that, maybe he was the Lebanese immigrant, I don't remember which, but one of them was committed by a Lebanese immigrant, and one of them was committed by an ISIS supporter, a convicted ISIS supporter. And these are interesting, right? Because the American news media, and I feel like a lot of aspects of the American public, are probably going to try and spin this and these attacks, including the one that happened on Gracie Mansion, the one that targeted Mayor Mamdani, I think they're going to try and paint it as the Muslim world trying to attack America for its attacks against Iran. The only problem is Iran is 12 or Shia. And while Lebanon is getting bombed and invaded by Israel, they are not nearly as deeply in the crosshairs as Iran is. I smell FBI interference all over all this shit. I'm not saying that some radical Muslims didn't attack synagogues. Obviously, they did. Obviously. But if it comes out that the FBI or the CIA helped them do those attacks, or somebody connected to our intelligence agencies helped them do those attacks, I would not be surprised one bit. Because it's the perfect casus belli for further engagement. In fact, it makes a lot more sense if you think about it from the perspective of, like, one of them was from Lebanon, which is a country that the US and Israel is already trying to drum up support for invading. We've been fucking with them for a long time. Israel's been fucking with them for a long time, and now they're actually launching incursions into Lebanon and everything. It really does smell like artificial 9/11s. Not in scale, not in scope, but in perceived intentionality. Iran fought ISIS, moron, read a book. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else, but yeah, like, that's kind of the point I'm making, is that Iran fought ISIS. So why would ISIS be doing attacks all throughout the United States in response to the aggression that the US is now showing towards Iran? Ostensibly, they should be happy about it, right? Do you have brain diabetes? What the fuck does that mean? I hate the Libertarian Party just as much as I hate the Republican Party. We need an independent party that can fix all this. Honestly, party politics are not the answer to all these problems, but yeah, insofar as party politics can be used to affect a better world, we need something that isn't the Democrats or the Republicans. As long as we're beholden to that two-party nightmare system, nothing is ever going to change electorally. I mean, it's literally, right now the system is completely ran by people who benefit from things being the way they are presently. Is your real name Philip? No, my real name is Phoebe. It's right there on the headline. This person is speaking nothing but truth, and you idiots are saying absolutely nothing in response. They have nothing to say in response. Like, I'm saying that some synagogues were attacked. Clearly, that's a tragedy. Clearly, there is some upswing of Islamic extremism going on here in America, but I don't believe it's actually organic. I think that the FBI and the CIA, possibly both of them, maybe either one of them, are covertly working to, working with extremist organizations to cause an uptick of violence that is commensurate with the forecasted uptick of violence that the FBI was talking about a week or two ago. When the Iran war began, there were all these bulletins that were issued a few days later, like, you guys better watch out. And then, you guys remember that story from like 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever it was, whenever some big government official was saying, hey, we need to be watching out for Iranian sleeper cells. You guys remember that? Iranian sleeper cells? You guys remember those 3 words, Iranian sleeper cells? Keep that in the back of your head every single time you read a news story about one of these synagogue attacks. Keep it in your head that this may represent a genuine uptick in Islamic violence that's organic and inspired by our geopolitical malfeasance, but It might also be a tax meant to look like organic frustration with America's geopolitical malfeasance that is actually highly coordinated on the back end by American forces who have every incentive to want to want the Americans and the American government to stay at war. Thank you, King Bugs, for the $10. I appreciate that a ton. If anybody else would like to have their comment or question read or answered, or with their name acknowledged, please consider sending a super chat or donating via Cash App. You can find that down below. How are you doing, Phoebe? I'm doing good, KDP. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, 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 good. Another trans loony. You found me. If by free Iran you mean free Iran from the grips of American imperialism, then I totally agree with you. Your guitar looks rad. Thanks. It does, doesn't it? Isn't it a nice looking guitar? That's a good looking guitar right there. You're an ebook ghostwriter. Yeah, nice, nice. Sounds fun. I don't know what KDP means, though. Edgar Kirk? Who the fuck is Edgar Kirk? Is that like Is that like TJ Kirk's little known cousin? Well, everybody's heard of TJ Kirk, and some people have heard of Scotty Kirk, but I bet you've never heard of Edgar Kirk. You will become a statistic, and will become doon 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 doon. Silhouettes when our bodies finally go. Statistics when our bodies find. No, it doesn't work. Yeah. I was gonna try and sing it your way, but no. This motherfucker must go to a British dentist. That has been the only joke anyone's ever made about my teeth that has actually been remotely funny. I have been streaming on this bitch for a year and a half, and you are officially the first person to actually make me crack a smile with a joke about my teeth. Edgar? I hardly know her. Yeah. Thank you, Margot. Thank you for the $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very much like PBS, this channel is supported by the small donations of people just like you. Consider contributing to help a small-time trans creator stay on YouTube and keep making content full-time. Can't tell if your body or mind is less healthy? Well, you can't actually assess anything about the health of my mind without a clinical assessment, so you can see that I'm fat. You can see that my teeth aren't exactly great. I've got pretty good looking skin, though. I have to say that. I'm not, like, covered in boils, which is nice. I'm not a leper, so I got that going for me, I guess. Palestine throws fucking gay people off of roofs? Wild. Wait till you hear what Israelis do to little Palestinian children with their bombs and missiles. You think Palestinians throwing gay people off a roof is bad? Wait till you hear what Israelis will do to Palestinian civilians, Iranian civilians, Lebanese civilians, and anybody else they come in contact with that they don't like. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The egg, obviously. The chicken is descended from the red jungle fowl. The red jungle fowl is a bird, which is, they are all universally descended from dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, as far as we know, laid eggs. Wait, are you gay? Not trying to be mean. I mean, I'm bisexual. I'm openly queer, if that's what you mean. Can I invite you on my stream? Not tonight. Not tonight. Tonight is not a night where I can do that easily or functionally. You'll have to wait for one of the call-in streams. Speaking of which, you know what? It's a little girthy, but I think we can do it. So I'm going to set a dono goal right now. If we reach 200 more dollars in donations by Sunday evening, okay, we'll do 2 call-in streams on Monday and Tuesday. Give you guys a little bit of an incentive. There you go. Can we ban all the homophobes in chat? No, but what we can do is we'll make things a little bit more easy on all of those of you who are not just completely hate-filled pieces of shit. And it'll also make life easier on those of you who are hate-filled pieces of shit, but who still want to participate in the chat and have an interesting conversation. You can't just say gifts 200 between asterisks and think that's going to make anything happen. Thank you, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're so very welcome. Hit the subscribe button if you want to keep talking. It's really not hard. Yo, play the guitar. If somebody will donate $10 or more, I'll play the guitar. If somebody will donate $10 or more. I mean, King Bugs did earlier, but King Bugs didn't request guitar in his message, so. Y'all heard bad news? Oh boy. Is it more recent than the synagogue attacked in Norfolk, Virginia, the synagogue attacked in Detroit, Michigan, or like the Strait of Hormuz being mined? Like, I don't know, man. We've got so many things coming out so often now. Really, the Republican Party, if they have mastered anything, if the Republican and right-wing media environment and the party has mastered anything, it is flooding the zone, making sure that the American public is so focused on so many different news issues and so many different, like, domestic issues, foreign issues, things that might become issues later on down the road. We can't focus on any one thing for long. Guitar, yes. Okay, King Bugs. You paid another $10, so we'll do it. But I tell you what, we'll do it after I go pee, because I really gotta pee. So I'll set this here, because we'll need that setting there anyway when I play, and I will be right back. So, give me 1 second. We'll do a little guitar. Once again, if you would like to have your comment or question read or answered, consider sending a super chat like King Bugs did, or donating via Cash App, because I do check those too. Otherwise, be right back. We get $200. Well, it'd be $190 now by Sunday night. We'll do a couple call-in streams on Monday and Tuesday. Lord have mercy. Alrighty. Alrighty. Now that Phoebe isn't looking, I'm stealing all the weed. I ain't got no weed right now. I'm smoking resin. You kidding me? What happened? Why'd their thing? Why'd their thing get retracted? What am I looking at in my chat right now? Okay. Anyway, we're gonna hit the fucking tobacco a couple more times and then we'll play some guitar for you guys. Hope your day was good. It was. Why do you look like that? If only I knew. If only I knew, friend. If only I knew. Thank you for the $5, by the way. We are now only $180 away from a couple of call-in streams Monday and Tuesday. King Bugs, you got any requests? Tuned up guitar, probably chief among them. I'll send you 100. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Lots of people have said they'll send big dollar donos. But you're also joking about sending a hairy ballsack pic on Instagram in lieu of payment, so I don't know if I can trust you. Something original? Oh no. Oh no. I don't know if I have any originals committed to memory. I mean, I have that, I do have one, but I'm still workshopping it in terms of making it sound like a good song. Fuck it, I guess I'll play it. There's a war on in the Middle East. Billions of people down on their knees, cause they're begging and pleading for mercy. Seems like Israel just can't seem to make peace. So we tore down and scrapped Cheyenne, built a town called New Jerusalem, and they don't need no M1 tanks, cause the U.S. military's got them safe. There's no Hamas, no atom bombs, just the smell of pie inside your homes. You can say who's wrong, who's they ruined. All the Jews are happy roaming in what used to be Wyoming. Damn it, I can't remember the verses I wrote after that. I need to refine that song into something that sounds better. And because I feel like if I can get a perfect melodic match, I'm kind of just like playing it with some fucking fuck around chords whenever I play it these days. But I feel like if I can find a good way to match it to a melody that's got a commensurate amount of impact, it could actually be a pretty funny song about relocating Israel to Wyoming and solving all the Middle East's problems in one fell swoop. It really could be. Do you know Mischief Brew? Do I know Mischief Brew? I actually sing this song as a lullaby to my son sometimes. Sat on the boat, rocks and plum wine, and we watched the fog roll and swallow the bridge on the bay. Thought I could live here, but I'm stuck in high gear and sweating and freezing 3,000 away. Oh, Pennsylvania, 3-mile island, your coal fires buckle, the miners' highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Belvedere, hostile city, PA. Where we all come from, most died of the black lung. Another browbeater, a boxer, and saint. When he finally got caught, the cops made a few calls. They opened his cell, never fought him again. Old Pennsylvania, 3-mile island, your coal fire's buckle, Myers Highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Belvedere, hostile city, PA. And old Belvedere, hostile city, PA. Wake me when Steel City's roadwork signs shine in my face. Now I'm safe. Was that a peep show with drive-through windows? The gun shows got carousels and funnel cake. Says church in neon and ask me what's beyond. If I had to guess, I'd say more of the same. Old Pennsylvania, 3-mile island, your coal fires buckle, the miners' highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you. And old Belvedere, hostile city, PA. And old Belvedere, hostile city, PA. Sounds like you got something out of tune. Yeah, that D string. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you guys for all being so nice and sweet. Margot's like pressuring people into donating now. In order for me to actually play and sing a song, I have to know it all the way through. So I don't know Polly enough to play it, unfortunately. You just earned a new subscriber? Well, good. Let me play you guys another good song. Shakedown 1979. Cool kids never had the time. On a live wire, you and I should meet up the street. June bug skipping like a stone. Headlights pointing at the dawn. You and I, sure we never see an end to it all. But we don't even care. Just shake these little blues. And we don't know just where our bones will rest. Just, I guess, we're gotten buried in the dust below. Double cross, the bacon and the pork. We weren't sure just what we were looking for. Poor feet sitting, slipping news down the sea. But we don't even care, as restless as we are. And we found love in the land of 1,000 gifts. We poured some men, lamented and assured to the lights and down below. Thanks to that, speak a sound. Thanks to that, we thought we'd go beneath the shroud of gold. Justine never knew the rules. She hung out with us freaks and ghouls. No apologies ever need be made. I know you better than you think. It's to see that we don't even care to know it ever should. And we don't know where our bones will rest. Just, I guess, forgotten, buried in the dirt below. Wee! It's blurry. I can't really help that. Aww. Well, thank you, Autumn. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it a ton. You guys are being so nice right now. You guys are being so nice. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of songs for you. If you guys want to hear more music, you can always request to have the guitar broken out again by super chatting. Since you've already unlocked it once this stream, I'll make I'll make it a little cheaper to break it out again. Oh, here's about $5. There we go. You want another song? It's $5. Look at all those lucky clovers from Margot. Thank you for the lucky clover. Maybe she's asking for another song. Who knows? I guess we'll see. The chat's nothing but lucky clovers right now. Once again, we've got a ongoing content goal. So if you guys make um, 180 more dollars by Sunday night, I will be doing 2 call-in streams on the following 2 days. You're a very down-to-earth person. Always like to scroll by now and then. You're definitely on the real ones. Aw, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, woo guy. I mean, I try to be down to earth. I definitely do have a big ego, but I don't think like I'm better than other people. I just feel like I've got a, overly elevated. I feel like there's a difference between feeling like you're better than other people and thinking you're better than other people, right? I feel like I'm better than other people, but I restrain that with the logical knowledge that I'm just a slob from Mississippi, you know? And I feel like there's lots of people who feel like they're better than other people, but they also think they're better than other people. And that's, I think, where you run into a problem. Everybody feels superior to other people in some way or another, but it, I think, becomes a problem when you start to like turn that into when you start to like intellectualize that and make it something that makes you a more just and worthwhile person to participate in the discourse or whatever. But I definitely think that my feelings about my own vast and giant ego make me a more down to earth person because it's like honestly, I now maybe this is just my narcissism speaking, but I feel like I prefer to be around people who are big narcissistic ego monsters that know it more than I do big narcissistic ego monsters that don't know it, right? What a big Boy Scout, you've been eating all the cookies, haven't you? Girl Scouts are the ones who sell the cookies. The Boy Scouts typically go for a different type of metal collection. Just saying. Confidence and arrogance are related, but confidence is often healthy. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You can be arrogant without really being confident, and you can be confident without really being arrogant. Just blowing by, not sharing my political opinion, but I respect yours even if it disagrees with mine. And I mean, I like that. I do like the vibe there. The only thing I kind of criticize is it's like you kind of shouldn't respect some political opinions because some people are just fucking crazy. Like I'm not crazy. Like the craziest thing I want to do about American politics is give everybody universal health care. But you talk to a Nazi and you'll get a very different apprehension of American politics. And I mean like a real, like actual Nazi, not like a, Republican. Not that there aren't Republicans in the or Nazis in the Republican Party. There definitely are. But, I think among the voters it remains a fringe tendency. Maybe tell me something that will blow my fucking mind. Most of New Mexico, the United States' fifth largest state, is a military training and testing battleground, basically. Vast swaths of New Mexico, once again, US fifth largest state, are dedicated to the White Sands Missile Range, which is a testing range for new ballistic capabilities by the US military, and various testing sites, Holloman AFB, or not Holloman, Whitman? Which one is it? Which one is the one that's near? I can't remember. But yeah, just think about a state like the size of Mississippi. And just imagine, like, no, you know what? It is even better example. Imagine all of Louisiana was just military training ground, off limits to the public, military only type shit. That's what New Mexico is like. It's like a giant state surrounding like the largest collection of military training and testing um, apparatuses in the United States. Please don't hurt anyone. Why would I? I mean, just look at me. I'm a muffin. Hi, Phoebe. Bad time. Good night. Sleeping soon. I don't know. I mean, I probably like I can't stay up too long. It's already probably 1 in the morning. Yeah, it's almost 1 in the morning. So I do have responsibilities as an adult, and I must, adhere to them somewhat. Aliens, you think, or just some secret shit? No, 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 no aliens. I believe Obama when he was asked the other day, and this just went under the radar because it happened right before this Iran shit. But Obama basically confirmed the existence of aliens, and he said it so offhandedly and immediately that it makes me think maybe he's telling the truth. And he also followed it up with like, but if you're wondering if they're all in Area 51 or something, no, as far as I know. And then he was like, let me put it this way: if there is a conspiracy to hide aliens in America, it is a conspiracy that goes so deep that even I, as the president, was not made aware of it. And I kind of believe him. I feel like out of all the presidents we've had, if one was going to tell you that aliens were real and you were going to believe him, of all the ones we've had in the last 20 years, Clinton, nah. You never know why that motherfucker's lying, but if his mouth's moving, he's lying. Trump, same fucking thing. Joe Biden doesn't know fucking anything about anything anymore because he's old and has dementia. Can't trust him. But Obama, I mean, he lied on the campaign trail, certainly. Or at least he was not able to achieve those goals. But if you look at the transition from young Obama to old Obama, it is very clear, to me at least, that he went in there a young, hopeful progressive and came out like a hardened by the system motherfucker that was just like, nope, I can't do any of the things that I wanted to do. There's so much against me, or something. That is the perception that I've always gotten from the transitory time of getting of Barack's term to the end. And I feel like if there was something inconsequential that he could talk to the American people about, I feel like he would. I feel like he's a little bit more forthright than most of the DNC adjunct politicians in America. But that may just be like that may just be cope. You know, I grew up during the Obama administration, so like I was 10 when he got elected, and I was like 18 when Trump was elected. So like in a lot of ways, my like early formative cool ass like, oh, everything is so awesome and neat and America's progressing and I'm progressing, all of that is wrapped up into this perception, and part of that has to do with like who was the president at the time, and so I'm aware of that like cognitive bias. I try not to let it lead me too far astray. Let me put it this way: I like to think that Obama wasn't lying when he told everybody that aliens were real, but that they're not at Area 51. And I personally never saw any reason to believe that aliens were being kept in New Mexico when I was like living in my van down there, and I spent quite a bit of time like around the White Sands Missile Base and the various like old nuclear testing grounds and shit like that in New Mexico. So it's like if I was going to see anything, if I was going to see them, you know, shepherding alien crafts in and out, I would think that I would have seen it at some point. But the craziest thing I saw on acid, and I saw what I think can be more easily explained by, let me put it this way. I don't think the United States government makes a regular practice of alien crafts around with fighter ships, with fighter planes. It just doesn't seem like it's something they normally engage in. I have to assume that whatever flew over me that one night when I was near Bernalillo, New Mexico. It was really late at night. My road dogs were fighting, but I was not. I was I was chilling. I figured out by this point they just like to fight. So we were all tripping on acid. Those two were fighting. I was sitting outside the van, and it was like as soon as I shut the door and lit up my blunt, I heard like a weird wind kind of sound, like a I don't know, like a rushing kind of sound. I don't know how else to put it. And then I looked up, as is my custom, in a big open area where you can see lots of stars. And immediately the stars were blacked out for like a good 2 seconds. But it was one of those things where it was like so much was blacked out, and whatever this craft was didn't have marker lights. But it covered up so much of the stars, but yet passed so quickly that I surmised this must be a fucking incredibly big thing traveling incredibly quickly. And then following it was an American fighter craft of some kind. And I recognized, and it just happened so quickly. And then a couple seconds later, sonic boom. So it was just a miracle that I even ended up just standing up there and looking up at the right time. Just a fucking miracle. Because I didn't look up because I heard the whooshing sound. I just thought that was like, honestly, I look back on it now and I'm like, huh, I should have known something was up. But I didn't back then because I'm used to like hearing that kind of sound whenever there's even a little wind. Because I grew up in an area where it's pretty country and there's lots of trees around. And anybody that's lived near a forest can tell you, even when there's just a little bit of wind in the air, you can hear the trees sing as the leaves shake against each other and as the branches creak and everything. You can hear wind very easily. Now, that's not true in New Mexico, but I still was, at least it's not true in most of New Mexico, but I was still operating under that cognitive bias. Surely this happened exactly as you remember. Well, that's the other problem, right? How much of this am I filling in the blanks to? You know, how much of this am I um, embellishing without even knowing it? You know, you're insanely mentally ill. What do you mean? How do you know? You're not my fucking doctor. How would you know how mentally ill I am? You've watched me for an hour on YouTube, and now you're my clinician. Ay ay ay. You unsubbed after commenting this? Sure you did, buddy. You're not going to immediately respond with another comment. Mm. Dude, why are you so worried about me? I ain't trying to slap the bag of Doritos out of your hand. I can't cut off mom's Wi-Fi. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you disrespect them. What the fuck is wrong with people? I 100% agree. I disrespect people when they disrespect me, and that's it. You know, or well, not that's it. I disrespect people when they disrespect me, or when they demonstrate a clear lack of respect for human life and dignity. You should make fun of Nazis. You should make fun of pieces of shit that want to make light about the death of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. You should socially ostracize and make fun of and shit on people who say reprehensible things in public or online, expecting no pushback. You should. You just disrespect yourself? Nah, don't do that. Take care of yourself. You're a worthy human being. You claim to be something you're not. I can claim I'm always right, but that doesn't mean I am. What do you mean I claim to be something that I'm not? What are you talking about? No, debate streams are so pointless in this state of YouTube. It's not this state of YouTube, it's the state of the world. It's the state of the world, in my opinion, Margot. I don't think debate streams, like, here's the thing. There used to be this weird thing, right? Where on YouTube, blood sports was happening, where people were debating way more viciously than you typically see them debating today, even. At least insofar as it was like people with platforms or people that were willing to engage with people with platforms saying really like crazy shit, reprehensible shit on big, websites and everything else. But within that environment, it seemed like agreement would pop up more often, and it seems like common. One second. Back in the blood sports era, when everyone was more forthright about their vitriol and everyone was like more openly angry on the internet and everything, I feel like we were actually, and I'm talking about people with platforms, I feel like we were actually able to see more common ground be established and more productive debate, at least in terms of like getting people to engage with the subject matter. But at this point, everybody pretty much is so narrativized that it's really hard, honestly, to find someone that isn't just parroting a line. You know, like so many of the arguments I have with MAGA people, it's clear to me that they watch like one right wing media figure, two right wing media figures, and that's it. That's their entire media diet. Every piece of news they get is filtered through that, or they look it up and they run it through the lens of their biases. And when you're debating against that, there is a utility to it and it can be fun, but it's never going to lead to the same kind of productivity as having an argument with someone who has axiomatically justified their beliefs, no matter how horrible those axioms may be. It's more fun to debate a Nazi who is axiomatically convinced of the virtues of white nationalism than it is to debate a Nazi who's just repeating every fucking stupid ass, Tucker Carlson talking point he's ever heard, or Nick Fuentes talking point, or whatever. I agree. I disagree with most of what Charlie Cook stood for. Regardless, he's a human with a family and two little girls. Someone who grew up without a father, too, that makes me sad some people celebrate it. It does me too. It does me too. Although I can understand why some people um, felt the way they did, because for a lot of people, Charlie Kirk was like an avatar of everything that's so fucked up about the American right of the modern day. The fact that it appeals so actively and knowingly to disenfranchise young men and offers them a solution that isn't a solution at all. The fact that the right wing likes to dress up really horrible, bigoted positions in intellectual defenses and easy little clip chimped debate compilations. So for a lot of people, they look at Charlie Kirk and they think of him as like an avatar of everything that is wrong with the Trump era and Trumpist conservatism and shit like that. But ultimately, I cannot divorce the fact that he basically did my job talking shit online or to an audience at the very least. And the fact that he was a parent with kids and like ultimately what did killing him achieve other than galvanizing the right wing? It'd be one thing if Charlie Kirk was responsible for the murder of millions of people or something. It'd be one thing. And I guess you could argue maybe he was in some indirect sense because he helped to get Trump elected and Trump helped to dismantle U.S. aid. So I get the arguments, but I just don't think that assassination was actually like an effectively political tool there. And it, like when you combine its ineffectiveness, its lack of righteous justification, and the base inhumanity of murdering a man in front of 2,000 innocent people, reprehensible. I can muster no defense for it. Oh, look, Lucas is back to tell us all how he forgot to unsubscribe. Well, Margot, they might be typing out a message that's getting auto filtered by YouTube. It might not be even getting caught by the partial filter. Because YouTube has two different filters. There's some messages that YouTube flatly will not let you send, period. And then there's other messages that can be sent if a moderator sends them or if a moderator approves it. And to add on to this, Charlie always respected everyone he spoke with. He made it clear he respects everyone. A lot of people call him homophobic, but he really just hated the sin and not the person. Well, the problem is when you hate the sin so bad that you're willing to legislate society on the basis of it, right? It's one thing to hate the sinner and to think, it's one thing to hate the sin and feel like you are responsible as a Christian for demonstrating a better path forward. Jesus himself believed in this narrative. It's another thing entirely to think that you need to bend the laws of man to match up with biblical edict. And that's, from what I can tell, what Charlie Kirk wanted to do. Ultimately, I don't think that it matters much whether or not someone is or is not homophobic until they want to legislate on the basis of it. If you say, I don't like gay people, but fuck, who cares if they get married? It doesn't affect me. I really don't care. I'm sure I'm supposed to, but I don't, is the problem. I care when your right to swing your fist around wildly in the air ends at my fucking nose. So until you contact my nose, I got no problem with you wildly swinging your fists. You know? Go ahead. Be mad at gay people. They're not the reason why you burnt your steak, why the fucking limb fell on your broken windshield, or anything else. But go ahead, I guess, if you insist. But the moment you want to legislate on the basis of that hatred, sorry, got problems. Paradox of tolerance? Well, exactly, but I think that that's the answer to the paradox of tolerance. The answer to the paradox of tolerance is widespread, well-maintained education and a democratic society that values at the core of it personal autonomy and positive freedoms. Tried saying 7 times. It's literally saying someone had bad opinions that rhymes with barley Kirk. I don't know why it's not letting you say it. I'm sorry. Well, your opinion has been registered, Wasteland Games, even if YouTube is restricting you from saying it for whatever reason. What's up, the Ward 3 NZ? What's up, what's up? Roe is so against abortion, even for his own kids. What? Well, yeah, of course he was against abortion. He was a conservative. They're all against abortion. They all want to control women's bodies. I mean, that's just like when you sign the contract to become a conservative, that's one of the clauses, as near as I can tell. Do you hate women? Check here if yes. Note, applications with a no check will be rejected. I can hear it and respect the way you're putting your opinion out there. Thanks. Yeah. Phoebe, what is a woman? You keep dodging this question because you can't answer it. Oh, that's easy. A woman is someone who identifies as a woman, or like someone you can like identify as one from a distance, and like she doesn't correct you when you like use she her pronouns. That's probably a woman as well. Woman is a cultural term that we use to denote a specific set of attributes, behaviors, and aesthetics that we attribute to people that we assume to have a vagina based on their like possession or display of these various attributes. A woman is someone with a feminine spirit, like Phoebe and me. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. That's actually a remarkably good way to put it. I identify as a black person, so I'm black. I mean, I'm not going to tell you any different, but you might like encounter some social resistance because, obviously race and gender are two very different things. Like race itself is largely a social construct in the sense that like there can be more in fact there is more genetic difference between someone from like one of the black communities of Southern Africa and someone from one of the black communities of the more like northern Central African region, there's more genetic difference between those two people than there is between me and the average black American, just as a result of like constant genetic admixture and shit like that. So like the idea of race being this universal construct that unites people because they have similar skin tones, I mean that in and of itself is kind of stupid and silly and outdated. Good point, Phoebe. You answered my questions very well. Thank you. Hope I planted the seed. I mean, I just see them as like different things. Ultimately, what we think of as a woman or a man is informed by cultural notions, not biological ones. After all, there's nothing in a woman's biology that makes it more like better for her to wear a dress or for her to wear like a particular kind of suit. There's just not a whole lot of correlation in these areas, and I think we really want there to be. But like when it comes to the behaviors that we associate with given people and shit, zygotes are not babies. Very true. Very true. By the way, I want to thank all you guys for watching so far. We have maintained pretty good viewership numbers throughout the stream, so I'm feeling pretty fucking confident about my abilities again, which is nice. But if you've been enjoying the stream and you've got a little pocket change burning a hole in your pocket, consider donating to help a small time trans creator stay on YouTube and keep making content full time. It is small time viewers like you and donations like yours that help this channel keep going. So, with that being said, what are we going to talk about now? Have you been to a country outside of America or any first world country? I've lived in Qatar, Kuwait, Afghanistan, and Latvia. No disrespect, but I think you live in a first world lie. Um, like what part of my life is a lie? What do you mean? Like, I'm not sure what you mean. But no, I've never been outside of America. No, I've never been outside of America, period. Not to another first world country, not to a third world country. I am a fucking bum ass southerner who's lived my whole life here in America and will probably die here in America having never set foot outside it. Not that I don't want to. I would love to visit. Like, there's all kinds of places in the Middle East I want to visit. I just know that I probably will never be able to, even if I'm like financially able to, because like most of the Middle East isn't exactly safe for trans people. Although, if things ever settle down with Iran and they start allowing in American tourists again, and I like went through like sex reassignment surgery and stuff, I would be able to go to Iran. Well, yeah, I could go to Europe pretty easily. Yeah, I mean, like at some point, I do want to go to Europe. I want to go to all kinds of places. I just, I've been poor my whole life. I haven't been able to. I mean, I'm from Alabama, and conditions here are close to third world countries. Yeah, and nobody ever talks about this either, Wasteland Games. But I'm from Mississippi, and I know 100% what you mean. I know literally exactly what you mean. There is a type of poverty, institutionalized, systemic poverty, that is allowed to exist here down south that doesn't exist anywhere else in the United States. Anywhere else. Our roads are some of the worst in the country. Our infrastructure in general is some of the worst and least reliable in the country. Our individual poverty rates can be some of the worst in the country. People talk about the low cost of living in the South, but what they neglect to mention is that, like, you have to keep a low cost of living if you're going to keep a population of people who are barely making fucking 16 grand a year. There are tons of people living in the Deep South who barely fucking clear enough money to fucking survive. And they live lives of just constant cyclical poverty. There are shacks littering the Deep South's back roads that would put Detroit to shame. You are probably better off and safer from the elements living in the average trap house in Detroit than you are living in some of the bumfuck, rumdinger fucking horrible shacks that people are actually living in, that you will see driving down the Deep South's back roads. The South's been allowed to rot because Southern politicians don't give a fuck about the South. They give a fuck about their wallets, they give a fuck about their mansions, and they give a fuck about their businesses, but they don't give a fuck about you or me. They don't give a fuck about people like me or Wasteland Games or other people that are actually living down here, breathing this air, drinking this water, dealing with this bullshit. Who pays your rent? Nobody pays my rent. I am very, 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 very privileged to belong to a long line of yeoman farmers who were sharecroppers back in the day when that was a thing, and were able to acquire a little bit of land back in the 40s. That land has passed in true line from the 40s till now, and I am very thankful that it was written in my great grandfather's will that no one would ever take out a mortgage on any part of this property, that no one in the family would ever sell any of it or anything like that. So here I live, rent free, mortgage free, and thank God for it. But I belong to a dead class of Americans. If I didn't have a kid to pass this on to, there's a good chance that it would have just returned to the wilds after I died. There's a good chance that it just would have returned to the wilds. No more would anything be grown here, kept here. No more would anyone be living here. No more would anyone be keeping up the story or even giving a shit about it. And I don't know. I think that's sad. Not that there's anything particularly special about my family or this land, but because there's something special about every piece of land and every family in America. There's something beautiful in all of us. And I care about my neighbors and their houses and how old they are and how many times the land has changed hands and all of that. And it pains me to see how American politicians, and particularly deep Southern politicians, just don't give a fuck about like preserving the dying way of life that allowed the Deep South to become the industrial powerhouse that it's becoming today. Kicks 628. Thank you for the £2. I appreciate it. Get a job. You are a mentally ill disgrace. Well, thanks for the £2. I appreciate it. That means we are only $177 away from a couple of call-in shows on Monday and Tuesday. So, not far to go from that fucking dono goal. You guys have until Sunday night to get that in. Jobs or wage slavery, it's what it was called all throughout the 1800s. Yeah, and that rhetoric has only fallen out of place because during the 1950s and 60s, the United States government led a very successful campaign against communists, communist sympathizers, and anybody who was preaching the ideals of communism. And the reason why they did this was, in my opinion, to protect capital interests from further intrusion from socialist movements like had been seen under the reign of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Under his administration, America introduced revolutionary new socialist ideas. He worked with labor leaders, he worked with capitalists, he worked with everybody, and made big, big, big concessions to America's working class to keep things afloat. But in the aftermath of his tenure, the American bourgeoisie did not want to see any more of that power wrested from them. And so they were able to um, create this atmosphere within the US government of complete opposition to communism. It didn't hurt that communism was the outwardly facing philosophy. I don't think it was actually a communist. I think they were state capitalists, but the Soviet Union claimed to be communist, and um, like they appropriated a lot of the early communist imagery, and a lot of communist and socialist slogans got incorporated into Soviet propaganda. And so the United States government was able to, in concert with union breaking efforts from the corporations, some of which would take to really come to fruition, in concert with lobbying efforts on the parts of these big businesses, they were able to mount a successful manufactured resistance to internal communist and socialist influence. And as a result, phrases like wage slavery pretty much fell out of use because there was a period of American history where if you said a term like wage slavery, your name was put on a list, and people were going to come to your house and subpoena you to testify in front of Congress and prove that you're not a communist, and therefore a danger to national security, which was the implication if you were. Professional yapper? Unironically, yes. Could we talk about abortions finally, if you want to? We still have that group here. You know which one I'm talking about. I'm still not open about being trans, and I'm afraid to. I want to transition badly, but I need to, but can't. There is that group of hateful people still in the Deep South, but I will say, if you're talking about the Klan is a real thing that you do have to worry about, but it's very regional. I will tell you that much. There are places in the Deep South where the Klan doesn't exist and where people loudly reject the ideals. There are places like that littered all throughout the Deep South. Memphis is one of them. There's a number of towns in like central Tennessee and like northern Mississippi and shit that are like that. Jackson, Mississippi is like that. Did you just spit on the floor? No, that would make me like a chimpanzee, basically. I have a trash can for your information. I thought sundown towns are for anti-black. It is, but the problem is anti-black bigotry. This is why it's so important for people to keep intersectionalism in their head, right? Or intersectionality, I mean, because intersectionality is how you see. It's one of the angles in which you can see this like common line, right? Because if you are the kind of person who hates black people, you're more likely to hate gay people. And if you hate black people and gay people, you're way more likely to hate trans people. And if you hate gay people, trans people, and black people, you're way more likely to also hate Jewish people. And, you know, so on down the lines. The less bigotry someone has, the less likely they are to be bigoted in other areas. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, most of us are like regular people that aren't like hateful and bigoted towards something. We might have one thing that we hate irrationally, or like one group of people that we're genuinely like viscerally hateful towards. And it's usually intolerant people, which I feel like is a pretty acceptable form of bigotry, you know? I don't accept you because you literally predicate all of your beliefs on not accepting anyone else. Seems pretty fair to me. Phoebe, how do you feel about reparations to the African community? I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know how we would do the math on it. I don't know if we would actually be able to like like I don't know if you guys know just how much labor was stolen from black people in the era of slavery. It is an incomprehensible amount. And adjusted for inflation, I don't even know. We would be paying for 100 years even if we did find some way to do it. So I personally like the idea of fixing problems in society that affect everybody, but that would disproportionately help marginalized communities, because I feel like that might be a more effective way to affect their material interests in the immediate sense. But I've got no problem with the morality behind reparations. I just don't know if the math works on it. Let's make people that never owned slaves pay people that were never slaves. Let's make people whose ancestors used to own slaves overwhelmingly pay people whose ancestors used to be slaves overwhelmingly. And really, like an even better way to look at it is we are taking the profits that exist right now that are built on the back of a society that was built on the back of slaves and redistributing that, at least part of it anyway, to people who were disenfranchised by that slavery through their like genealogical connection to the people who were enslaved. It's not judging a son based off his father's sins. It's saying America as a country was built on slavery. It was built on all kinds of slavery, but a big, big, big part of America, the deep South and the entire East Coast, was built on the back of slavery. And it really didn't get much better even after we abolished slavery. We continued um, really harsh conditions of wage slavery for a number of years, and that trend continues even till today. But like chattel slavery is the thing that enabled America to grow westward. It is the thing that made America what it became in the like mid 19th century, that allowed us to start to like I don't know how this is controversial, you know? Like we started advancing as a society so hardcore, partly because we created conditions unlike anywhere else on the planet, where we had this massive underclass of unpaid laborers who were like, you know, paid so little in the room and board required to keep them up that it made America and its early factories and its early like its early agricultural output basically unmatched in terms of the like price we could deliver, because we were like profiting so much off of the completely removed cost of labor. Also, if you don't like the US, leave. No one wants you. When did I ever say I don't like the US? This is the narrative of a Nazi. This is the narrative of an American Nazi. If you have anything bad to say about America's mistakes in the past, about mistakes committed by Americans in the past, if you've got nothing but glowing respect and admiration for everything America is, was, and always has been, then you need to just leave, because you're undesirable. That's a Nazi narrative. I'm sorry. Just is. Oh, I'm a mistake, huh? Make more non arguments in my chat, why don't you? Got nothing to say, so if you're resorted to insult, it's a common tactic, and it's an appealing one. I can't even blame you. As a Venezuelan, I'm telling you, you have it amazing. I never said that I didn't. And as an American, never mind. Never mind. We already kidnapped your leader at midnight and fucking killed some of your citizens in cold blood. I don't want to rub the fucking dirt on your face too much. This is I always hate getting back talk from one of my colonists. It sucks. Is this ever felt whenever he had to deal with somebody from the American colonies? Is this like how a British tea magnate felt whenever they had a complaint letter from the colonies? That was an op, not someone from Venezuela. I know. I know. Trust me, I know. Sorry about that, but can I ask who you voted for? Nobody. I didn't feel compelled to vote in 2024 because I wasn't presented a good candidate. Legendary Thieves, how's it going? What's up, Signet? I was just saying some very edgy things about Venezuela because somebody was basically I'm from Venezuela and you just a privileged white girl. And so I was kind of dishing it back at him. But I apologize. It was mean. I said mean things. I called them a colonist. I said, I can't believe I'm having to face a colonist of mine bitching at me from behind the biggest steel wall we've ever seen. A literal colonist yelling from behind a naval blockade wants to talk to me, an American living in the country blockading them, about anything, but it was mean and edgy. I shouldn't have said it. You're a girl. I thought you were a boy. No, I'm a girl. Yeah, sorry. Why are you saying colonist like it's the 1700s? Because I'm an American who's aware of the political position, globally, that my country takes. My country is an imperial power that maintains a number of colonies all over the world. I'll give you a list of our current ones: the Philippines, Japan, Mexico, Venezuela, Argentina, Israel. Can't forget about Israel. And I feel like that's a pretty complete list of America's colonies. That's a brief list of all the countries that aren't really effectively allowed to have their own military because the US guarantees them protection, that effectively aren't allowed to govern on their own because the US government feels totally empowered to and emboldened to meddle in their politics. The only exception for that is Israel, who they have the opposite relationship with us. They're they have the relationship with America that America has with Britain. You know, they're kind of they're you know inseparably a colony of ours, but they now exercise more influence over us than we influence over them. So it's exactly what happened with America and Britain in that respect. Philippines have their own armed forces. So does Japan, ostensibly. But you'll forgive me if I don't exactly consider the Japanese self-defense forces to be a capable competitor on the world stage, nor do I consider the fucking Filipino Navy to be a global competitor. Stop talking shit on the USA. How about you make me? Okay, guys, I'll be real with you. I'm using the term colony a little loosely here. Obviously, nobody has colonies like the fucking old days anymore, okay? Mostly because we're not all marching around in uncomfortable clothes in 95-degree weather with muskets and shit. So yeah, duh. Of course, colonization works differently today than it used to. But any country whose economy we're supporting artificially by giant fucking grants to their farmers and importing their fucking beef, especially because we can, like, I feel like at a certain point we are engaging in economic colonization, even if we're not actually sending over troops and landing there and commandeering trading posts and shit. Like, yeah, of course, colonization is going to look different when you don't have muskets and fucking petticoats anymore. Those are called vassals. Like, either, in my opinion, when you're talking about it like in loose terms like this, I'm not fucking some political philosopher. As far as I'm concerned, those two terms mean basically the same thing. Like, what is the difference between a colony and a vassal state at a certain point? Like, what is the fucking fundamental difference? Like, is there a difference? I guess maybe the difference is that you're ostensibly allowed some degree of self determination in a vassal state, and in a colony you're not. But the problem is, like, the colonies were allowed a degree of self determination, so, like, I don't know, man. It feels like the definition is not as clear as philosophers would like to make it out to be. Does your guitar say this machine kills fascists? It does indeed. Who dropped you on your head when you were born? Nobody. Don't talk about my mom like that. That's mean. Thank you for the $2, real right, Riley Weston. I appreciate it a ton. Check my last chat if you will, please. Yes, I will. Also, are $170 away from 2 call-in shows that I will do on Monday and Tuesday. So you guys have until Sunday night to get that in. Consider sending a super chat or a Cash App donation. You can find that down below. When I was in 3rd grade, our teacher showed the boys the girls' room and the girls the boys' room so that they weren't mystical to us. Just realized how base this was. This is mid 2000s. Yeah, that's incredibly based, literally. And that teacher would probably get fired if she did it today. I hate to say it, but she probably would. That teacher would unironically probably be fired in today's atmosphere. You $2 rich. I guess so. I'm $2 rich, I'll say that much. I would if I could. Trust me, I know not everybody can. Mr. G, hello, 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 hello. Hello. Boy or girl? Girl. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. If you don't have any money, that's one way you can help. That helps a lot. Good luck. YT audiences are brutal. Well, thank you for the $10. I appreciate that a ton. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. I think because I've always kind of had a pretty thick skin, or at least I developed one in elementary and middle school, and then it carried me well throughout high school, and I've only been adding to it since. The layers have only gotten thicker. Signet Solace with the $5. So with these 2 donations, we are already down to being $155 away from those 2 call-in shows on Monday and Tuesday. You guys have until Sunday night to get that in. Thank you so much, Signet. Sure, here's a high five. When can I catch your call-in shows exactly? So I am going to tentatively say if we get the dono goal by Sunday night, I'll do them. I'll do one on Monday and I'll do another on Tuesday. And I will probably schedule them for like 4 p.m. CST. I might do the Monday one like 4 p.m. CST, and the Tuesday one I might do a little later, so we can catch 2 different audiences. Oh, thank you for the $5, by the way. I appreciate that a ton. Welcome in, Post. Welcome, welcome. Margot the Largo. That's funny. I don't understand why people like these shatters hate us. Trans people have never done anything to these people. It's rare we say anything when we are mistreated by people. Well, that's the thing. A lot of it's propaganda. That's why I try to argue with people who actually do ask me questions about it or who try to make an argument this way or the other. When someone's just being like baseline hateful, there's not much I can do about that. When they call me a troon or whatever, like, what am I supposed to do? That's a weird thing to say, but all right, welcome to the chat. That's pretty much all I can do, right? But if someone wants to actually argue about the science of it, well, I know the science is on my side. So it's like the knowledge that that's true can take you really far, honestly. The knowledge that that's true can take you incredibly far. Like the knowledge that you are ultimately on the side of truth and history and fact and reality, and they are on the side of stupid Bronze Age bullshit, can be a great helper in arguments like this. You usually come to hate because of your ideology, but I also believe in standing for what you believe in. Can I ask, when did you transition? In March of 2020, actually. So it's been about 6 years, which is a pretty fucking cool anniversary for me. I just wish I could remember what specific day it was, but I didn't like mark it on a calendar. So that being said, I am far happier now than I was like 12 years ago. So, 6 years before I came out, I was way more miserable. And 6 years after having come out, I feel like I'm pretty self actualized as a human being on the whole. Gunk Buggy for the $10. Thank you. I appreciate it a ton. For playing guitar earlier. Thank you. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate that a ton. Look at you guys are being so fucking nice. If anybody else would like to donate and have their comment or answered, consider donating either through Super Chat, like these wonderful people have done, or through Cash App. You can find that down below. Either way is greatly appreciated. Uh, yeah, ultimately, like the short answer is yeah, people make more money if trans people and like cis people that don't understand trans people are at each other's throats instead of both of us standing hand in hand on a strike line or in a protest or in some action that's meant to achieve better results for the working class. Like they don't want you focusing on the rich people at the top running out the back with all the money. They want you focused on the trans girl with pink hair sitting next to you in the restaurant lobby. And it's easy to see why they would want that because they profit off of you not thinking too hard about what they're doing on the back end. If you are truly happy, then that's all that matters. Well, look at that. The pragmatic optimist. What's the worst movie you've watched recently? Oh fuck, man. There was a real stinker that I watched the other day, and I can't remember what it was. Damn it, I wish I could remember though. The Emoji Movie. I haven't watched it recently, but goddamn, you ain't kidding. That is a piece of dog shit. The Emoji Movie is the worst movie ever made. Worst movie ever committed to film. Oh my god. Oh my god. they use the Emoji Movie on prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. I don't know if that's true, but I believe it. I'm sorry for making you mad. Uh, uh, huh? What about best movie? Man, I ain't been watching a lot of movies recently, to be honest with you. I feel like everything I've watched recently has kind of been garbage, and I never remember a garbage movie, hardly ever. But let me think here. I got nothing. No new movies. I mean, I can think of like, here, you want the best movie that I think, like the like best overall movie? Lord of the Rings. Best fucking trilogy of movies ever made. Um Best documentary, probably gonna have to go with The Power of Nightmares by Adam Curtis, or Happiness Machines by Adam Curtis. Either of those is really fundamental work. Um, let's see here. I can do a broad categorization of a number of movies, like best action flick. Hmm. Jay Unchained count as an action movie? Because I think it might take the lead role on that. And honestly, I feel like it's another Tarantino flick that's gonna take the fucking lead role for um best chamber movie, which would be The Hateful Eight. I'm not really like that discerning a moviegoer. I feel like I've probably got pretty basic tastes, honestly. Let me see. We got another $5. Do you ever want to work on your voice? It's your expression, whether you do or don't. I'm just curious. I mean, I've certainly thought about it. I feel like if I'm like honestly, I feel like I could do a number of things for my voice just by not smoking. And it is my sincerest hope to eventually like be able to not smoke at all, period. I feel like I need to quit that, and that would do loads for like making my voice sound a little like smoother at the very least. But as far as voice training, I don't know. Like on the one hand, I do wish I had a higher voice. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily feel like my countenance is masculine to begin with. And I feel like there definitely are women with deep voices. So it's like I don't know. I do wish I had a higher voice, but I also don't get that much dysphoria from my current voice. The main thing like about my like voice that gives me dysphoria whenever it does is just like the gravelly kind of thing. But that's like that vocal fry is entirely smoking induced. I could get rid of it if I stopped smoking and like just even if I was just vaping, a lot of that would go away. I mostly mean smoking tobacco. I mean, I feel like, yeah, like weed smoke, all smoke affects your voice, but I feel like I've met way more people with less voice problems that smoke weed than I have. Like, I feel like everybody who smokes tobacco just gets a deeper voice from it. I feel like a lot of people who smoke weed don't really have any noticeable change to their voice from smoking it. But either way, I would prefer to just vape in general. I prefer to vape both the weed and the tobacco. I added you on Discord. I was wondering if you had a server for the channel. I do, but I don't know if anybody has a link, so. Smoking causes so much damage. Lost my dad in 2012 to AML leukemia. I think him smoking for 45 plus years didn't help. What took him from us? Please start to quit. I will say though, I mean, if you smoke for 45 plus years, assuming you started when he was like 15, that's still, I mean, living to 60 is still a pretty long life. But maybe I'm just not giving myself enough credit. I'll tell you, part of what makes me, I think, I don't know if I should even admit this, honestly. There are a number of people in my family who lost their mind as they got older to dementia or to Alzheimer's or to some other, like, late in life onset kind of mental thing. And because that's happened to so many people in my family, I just feel like I'm so at risk for it. Sorry, I don't mean to do the Joe Biden whispery thing on you, but I understand why Sleepy Joe used to do that. Sometimes you just don't want to say something. Listen, Jack. Oh, man. Old Joe. All us leftists, too. We thought his old ass was going to fucking pass away, hell, halfway through his presidency. Old motherfucker's still living. He'll outlive us all. You watch. That motherfucker will run for a second term on his 101st birthday. Listen up, Jack. The first time around didn't go so good. Oh. First time around. Good. Go. We're going to do a second time around, Jack. And it's going to be better this time because ice cream's better this time of year, Jack. It's going to be awful, but it's going to be there. You watch. I cannot believe the Democrats allowed Joe Biden to be the fucking nominee in 2020. This is why I call the Democrats a traitor party to the working class. Joe Biden is why I call the Democrats traitorous to the working class. That was unacceptable. How did a single person in DNC leadership convince themselves that what they really needed to do to assure victory for themselves in the 2020 election was to nominate Joe Biden? I am so shocked to this day that he won. I voted for the man and I didn't think he was going to fucking win. I voted for him in person, and then that day I went to fucking, I went through that whole night watching the election coverage that Deep Fat Fried was doing, and I went to bed thinking, damn, somehow Joe made it. Thank God, I guess. Man, that's crazy. Almost had another 4 years of Trump. Looking back on it, we would have been better off. Not because Trump would have been a better leader. I don't think he would have been. I think it would have been more of the same. But Trump was a lot more tame in his first administration than he has been in this. He's completely off the fucking rails now. And it would have been nice if we would have gotten this shit out of the way 4 or 5 years ago, instead of being stuck with it now when we've all been drugged through the mud so fucking hard and been made so despondent and morose by the conditions of our survival. I was 14 during that election. I remember watching the results live streamed. I was 21 on that election. No, I was 22 on that election. We just wouldn't have to deal with angry style dementia. We could have had early stage incompetent dementia Trump. Exactly, 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 exactly. We could have gotten like early onset, like, or we could have gotten like the early stage of dementia Trump, where he was like not, where he hadn't been shot at yet by like two or three different people, where he hadn't been like, made into this martyr figure and this hero figure by so many people on the right. Like, he had a like, because of Joe Biden's incompetence, Trump, not only did his dementia have time to get worse, but he had time to be incubated as a politician. And Joe Biden made the same fucking mistake that Barack Obama made in 2008. Barack Obama did not prosecute the war criminals from George Bush's cabinet, or at least they didn't prosecute nearly enough of them. And as a result, many of those people remained in politics for the years to come and continue to influence American politics to this day. Were never called to account for their war crimes, and America's political establishment was never called to account for that tendency growing within it. And Joe Biden made that same mistake. He didn't prosecute Donald Trump. They had enough evidence. They had a good enough case. They could have, and they chose not to prosecute Trump on the worst of his crimes for fear of setting a bad precedent that would allow Democratic politicians to be targeted in the future. They chose loyalty to bourgeois interests over democracy. They chose loyalty to bourgeois interests over protecting democracy. I remember how excited we were for Obama. My mom was motivated to vote for the first time in 2008 after the bullshit W and all of Barack's promises. What a letdown. I know. I know. And that's why. It's just another fucking giant stack on the pile of reasons why the Dems can't be trusted. And why we have such a critical moment of time here where we can work to fucking show the Dems that they have to change, that they have every reason to change, or they need to understand that either it's change or be made irrelevant and become Republicans. They're already functionally Republicans, but they're about to have to adopt the little red R next to their name, too. Because right now, they are causing a massive exodus of progressive voters and progressive support, which they need to win elections. I remember how excited we were for Obama. Oh, I already read that. I only been by this channel 6 times, so I was genuinely asking. Oh, well, what did you ask? My mom only voted for Obama because she couldn't trust a Mormon with the presidency. Um, you know what? I like the logic, but I also don't like the logic. On the one hand, I think it's right to distrust Mormons. On the other hand, I don't know that it's right to, like, only vote for Obama because of that, right? Because I feel like there are lots of good reasons to vote for Obama if you genuinely believed that he was going to do the things he said he was going to do. There's a reason why people call Obama the most promising politician of the 2000s and the biggest letdown of the 2000s. Because the type of shit Obama was promising was like a big change to the American status quo. It would have been effectively the largest expansion of our social safety net since the FDR years. And he didn't do it for whatever reason. Mitt Romney vote might mean we could have ended up more left. That's kind of the argument I'm making with this, like Trump in 2020 thing. Maybe it would have been better if Trump would have just won fair and square in 2020, and like 4 more years of Trump and 4 more years of him just being like fucking a lame duck, fucking reveling in his own success, doing functionally nothing, and then he would have termed out uselessly And people's pissed off frustration at him, just like their pissed off frustration at W, would have probably led to another way more progressive candidate. And enough of that pressure over a long enough period of time, I really do think can make a difference. Like, I genuinely think that we can keep trying to get actual progressives elected to national office, and eventually one of them will be far enough from the corporate interests that they'll be able to actually go after the healthcare insurance companies and implement some really serious changes here. A lot of old people talk about how America changed or how things used to be better. Never knew that America. I was 10 when I watched Charlottesville on the news, 15 when I saw January 6th. Oh shit, so you're a good bit younger than me then. You were 10 when you watched Charlottesville on the news. You're like, oh my god, you're like a kid. Holy shit. You're like 18 or something. Okay, so literally was I don't remember how old I was when Charlottesville happened. I was like 18 or 19, I think. When did it happen? Was it 2015? I would have been 17. I would have been 16 or 17 when it happened. So you're like 20? You're 20. Okay. Yeah, okay, that helps me line up the dates. All right. Um that is wild. I don't know, dude. I just think of myself still as being like, "Oh, I'm fucking young as shit." But then I talk to people in my chat and it's like 21, 22, 20, 18. It's like, "Oh, what the fuck has happened? I've aged. Time has gone forward and left my brain in the dust." No, it's just strange to think about. Yeah. I think the other thing that blows my mind about that realization is that there are people like you that are starting to become of like political age, right? Like you grew up in not just a post 9/11 world, but in a Trumpian world. You grew up fighting the culture war and seeing it fought constantly all around you. And you live in a place, Alabama, that experiences some of the worst fronts of that. Who remembers Ferguson? I believe I was 16 when Ferguson happened. I lived in Missouri at the time, so it was only like 2 hours north of us. Having to buy my friend with Bitcoin really soured my opinion of American institutions. Having to buy my friend E with Bitcoin really soured my opinion of American institutions. Oh, well, yeah, no. I mean, any experience with American healthcare will sour your opinion of American institutions. We don't do things in a way that altogether makes too much sense in this country anymore. So I'm about to get off of here, but I have one last thing I want to say. Well, not one last thing. It's just the thing I want to say before before we start to have our final conversations and everything. And that's just that if you like the channel, consider donating, subscribing, hitting the like button. We are $155 away from getting a couple of live call-in shows that I will do on Monday and Tuesday. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I'm going to be doing those as long as we can get those that dono goal hit by Sunday night. So keep your eyes open for that. And if you've been enjoying the stream, or if you enjoy the streams regularly, consider donating if you can. I'm going to be getting off of here in probably like 5 minutes, but I can field a couple of last questions. Seeing Charlottesville on the news and all the videos from that day is a major memory. I remember how angry everyone was, and it scared me as a kid. Yeah, the generation like that is like yours and the generation coming up after you is going to be fucked up. Real fucked up. Seeing January 6th made me realize how dog shit chuds are at praxis. Well, yeah, duh. But it also probably showed you how fucking depraved they were. They brought a gallows to the White House. Like, the intention behind the act has to be considered. You know? Like, I know we as leftists want to, say inadvisable things about gallows and public officials, but, like, the intentionality behind the thing is what matters. I have a question that I was saving for when the chat's load. Are you able to check Discord easily from stream? No, not really. Not very easily. About to get off here though, so if you want to pop me that question real quick, that can be our last question. January 6th was crazy seeing it when I was 15. I went into my grandparents' room and it was playing on the news. I was shocked and thought a civil war started. A lot of people thought a civil war was popping off. As a person who was 21 when January 6th happened, I thought we were seeing the first front of a civil war, unironically. Until the news finally came that things were not going to be that way, I didn't know what to expect, genuinely. I'll explain here, then give me a sec. Okay. January 6th was crazy as an adult. Yeah, no, definitely. I thought it was popping off. Now it might be popping off for real this year. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about. No one knows for sure, and no one can ever be sure on things like this, but are you transgender? Yes, I am. So my parents and me had another fight on politics. I tend to try and keep my opinion to myself because I know it will turn into a fight. You can see the whole story on Discord, part 1/2 3. Okay, we got part 1. They never used to be strongly political until Trump took office. Now they say horrible things all day while watching Fox News. In words of Mexicans, etc. It's not good. Oof. Yeah, that's not good at all. Oh no. Your parents are falling down the alt-right pipeline. People have been saying for fucking years that Fox News does this to people. And I don't know how, I don't know how else to tell people that. It's brain rot. A lot of mainstream media is that way, but Fox News is a particularly bad example of it. How do I stop the fighting because I love my parents through their faults? Um, I don't know that there's a way that you can. You can't convince everybody. You can the most effective thing you can do is be visibly or no like you know if they know that you are like a lefty or to the left or whatever, and you like try your best to be like successful and an upright member of society and all of that, and you have conversations with them about politics but don't really argue about it with them, the best way to handle that and to try and have conversations like that where you try and broaden people's understanding if you really want to go down that path. But it is a prickly path, as you can already see, and it's not something you should really push on if you're already seeing like a last lack of success with it. But you can try Socratic dialogue, basically. You can try explaining to them in a, pretty complex way. Like not explaining them, but you can have this complex conversation, this dialogue where you go back and forth. They say something and you're like, I mean, I've read some stuff about that and I feel like it doesn't seem to be the indication that I run into. I just don't know if it's that way. And then you ask some critical question that makes them examine some part of the thing that they're talking about. Hard for me to think of an example right now, but look into Socratic dialogue and see if you can incorporate that into your political conversations with them. But also consider maybe just not having political conversations with them until after the Trump era, because I believe that there are going to be a lot of deconverts after the Trump era, because I don't think JD Vance can keep up the same energy. I don't think that JD Vance has the same kind of charisma or the same kind of appeal or any of that shit. Doesn't have nearly the name recognition. I just don't think he's got the sauce. I just do not think he's got the sauce. So I think that there will be a lot of MAGA deconverts after Trump is gone. That doesn't mean the country's going to get all that much better. That still depends on us, like fighting for better policies. But the Trump era will eventually end. I also try to not do that, but today my mom would not stop. She was looking for a fight. She kept pushing it when I say I don't want to talk about it. They want to so badly to convince me and save me from fake news. Okay, I'm starting to see the problem here. At a certain point, you just have to put your foot down and say, I do not want to talk about this with you guys. I feel like y'all are the ones who are digesting nothing but fake news. I don't want to fight with you guys about it. You're my parents and I love you, but I'm on the side of factual reality. And you guys are on the side of mainstream media narratives. The things I believe are not things you can find on CNN. They're not things you can find watching Fox News. Not things you can find watching MSNBC. Yeah, that turns to fake news, and we have lived experience, and we want a better America for you. Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know that there is a good way to intercede in that. Like, you know, I just don't know if there's a good way to intercede in that peacefully. If they're not willing to listen to the objective voice of reason of like, I don't want to talk about this with you guys ad infinitum. I don't want to fight with my parents for the rest of my life about Trump versus Biden or Trump versus Kamala or Trump versus the magical ghost of Joseph Stalin, the magical resurrected ghost of Joseph Stalin. Obviously, but like, don't hold back verbally. If you love someone, you should tell them your opinion, even if it hurts. I agree. I'm just trying to give Matt some other strategies he can use that isn't just yelling. Because Daryl Davis talks about this. You should listen to Daryl Davis's TED Talk. If you've never heard about him, He's a black man that befriends Klan people and deconverts them. And he's worth looking into. But he talks about how, you know, the violence begins when communication breaks down. And, as long as we're yelling at each other, we're not fighting with each other. And as long as we're talking with each other, we're not yelling with each other. And if you can bring it down to that conversational level, you do yourself an immense favor. And there's a power in conversation like that. There's a conversational superpower available to you if you can master that. Last time I was inside my father's home, I noticed he was displaying and unfortunately probably wearing one of those MAGA hats with a black on black Nazi font. Ooh, yeah, bad sign. Hopefully he just thought Elon Musk looked really cool in it. Hopefully he just thought Musk looked cool in it. Any attempt to even come close to maybe they are wrong turns into, you don't know, fake news, evil internet. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my parents are dead and some Trump cultists took their places. Like my folks are in their early 60s. I don't want to give my mother a heart attack. Exactly. I 100% understand that, Matt, and I just don't know what advice to offer you that isn't probably something you've already heard before. Like, there's a reason why we call it the Trump cult, because there are literally people who believe in him and everything he is and everything he says and everything he does so wholeheartedly, and there's nothing you can say and there's nothing you can do to to disavow them of these beliefs. Your parents are going through a phase. We as humans never stop that. After Trump comes out of office, this MAGA's bullshit is going to be over and done with. Well, that's kind of what I think too, Chandler. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people are kind of going through a phase with this MAGA thing. It has spoken to. Trump speaks the language of a traditionally pretty disenfranchised group in American politics, and as a result, that group of fucking people loves him. Your parents probably always had some little fucking nibble of authoritarian hatred in them. It just took a strong man like Trump to bring it out of them. And a lot of people are going through that right now. A lot of people are being swept up in that mess. About a third of Americans are being swept along by that tide. Round a fifth to a third. This political party we have has ruined people. I can't help but blame the Dem Party for being so lame and failing America. Literally, yeah. You should blame the Democratic Party just as much as you blame the Republican Party for the destruction of America. It is the Democratic Party who helped to ensnare Obama in the confines of corporate rule. It is the Democrats who helped to ensure that Bernie Sanders didn't get anywhere near the halls of power where he could actually affect mass change on a big, significant, fundamental level. It is the Democrats who gave us Joe Biden in 2020 instead of allowing Bernie Sanders to progress in that election cycle to the nominee position. It is the Democrats who have normalized and standardized Republican policy in the aftermath of every fucked up Republican administration in my lifetime. It is the Dems. My parents are the same way, not racist, but Trump lovers, yes. Yeah, I mean, like, there's lots of people going through that phase. Some of them really are racist. Some of them, like, and here's another thing too. Like, there are people that are racist, but not like well thought out racists. There are people who are racist in a vague sense that have like mostly black coworkers. It's a really fucking weird thing. I have met people who are privately racist, who I know for a fact have black friends and black coworkers that they work just fine with. So there is clearly some kind of like internal cognitive dissonance that goes on in these people. But to explain it rationally, I cannot. My dad falls asleep with Fox on. Oh my god, cringe. Cringe. I fall asleep with rain sounds on, thank you. Although, you know what? Sometimes at a hotel, I will fall asleep with CNN on, or something like that. If you're in a motel, the two best things to watch when you're in a motel, in my opinion, are Family Guy and some news channel like MSNBC or MS Now or CNN or something like that. I can't even sleep in a hotel. What? What do you mean, Matt? What do you mean you can't sleep in a hotel? I love sleeping in a hotel. I sleep better in a motel or a hotel than I do in my own bed, in my own bedroom. Racists are told what to believe from someone. They don't come to be racist on their own. Exactly. No one is natively racist. No one. Humans aren't even natively afraid of snakes. Humans have to be taught to fear snakes. I'm not even kidding. A baby will not naturally fear a snake. So, like, the idea that they can be afraid of different races from birth just seems completely silly to me when they can't even be afraid of certain animals from birth. And animals are way more distinct than races. Like, the difference in two people's race might be like a matter of skin tone and hair type. The difference between two species is like structural and phenotypical all the way around and like massive. Like Tea Party conservatives, remember them? Where are they now? It's a phase. Well, I don't know if I agree with this kind of like it's a phase like viewpoint on on like historical materialism or whatever. Like we're not seriously using this to analyze every movement of the Republican Party of the last 20 years, are we? You know, old guard Republicans, where are they? Well, that's the thing. All of these people still exist, and they still make the Republican coalition. The MAGA Republicans are a very different sect of people than in fact, the MAGA Republicans hate the old guard Republicans and the Tea Party Republicans. The well, at least some of them do. Some of them see themselves as a continuation of the Tea Party. But like a lot of MAGA Republicans liked Trump because they saw him as a new type of Repub that they could get behind. Some of them are even people that used to vote independent or vote, both ways or whatever. Tea Party, we want complete free trade, crickets when it comes to Trump. Yeah, pretty much. But that didn't die. That's still around. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It has been a really good night. Matt, we can talk about it more on Discord if you want. Maybe we can call about it or something. We can talk it out. Not tonight, though. I got to go to bed. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for donating. We are only $155 away from those two call in shows on Monday and Tuesday. So please consider donating before Sunday night to get that goal. Thank you guys for hanging out. Awesome sauce. Very fun stream tonight. I appreciate you guys a ton. Peace the fuck out.